So we've got our enemy moving, which is great progress. But if I play my game now, you will see that when our enemy collides with the world, it gives us that message about damaging the player. This is because the player detectors can detect both the player and the world. So in the code, we need to differentiate between the two and configure the enemy to act differently according to whatever it is colliding with. If it collides with the block, it needs to change direction. If it collides with the player, it needs to damage the player. It looks like it's colliding with the block and changing direction now, but that's only because it's reached its travel limit. So what we need to do is enable it to detect the block and change direction if it does, and if it detects the player, to start damaging the player. Let's make a start on that. So stop that, into Robot Crab, and into the script. And I want my player detectors functions, and we'll start with on player detector front body entered. And the easiest thing to detect for first, well, let's actually look at what we're interacting with. So let's go print body dot name. That should work. And let's run the game. Move out of the way, collides with the wall, and we get the name block 12. Let's jump in front of it, see if it can detect us. It's the front detector only that I've coded, so remember. Yeah, it's collided with us, and it has correctly printed our name, player. That is brilliant. So we can use that to detect the player in the game. But we can't use the name to detect the block because they've all got different names. So what we will do is we'll use the collision layers to see if we're colliding with the world. So to test for that, we go if body, we've got the body up here, dot collision layer equals, and it's 2 equals because it's testing, 2, because the world is on collision layer 2. Once we've done that, we need to just reverse our direction, but we need to know what our direction is. So we need to do another test. So we go if direction equals -1, colon, direction equals 1, else direction equals -1. And that should enable us to change direction when we collide with a block. All right, let's go back to the same indentation as the first if statement. And we will go if body.name equals player with a capital P. And if we collide with the player, we want to change damaging player true. Okay, that should work. Now, if we have the body exited, so if the body leaves the collision detector, we don't need to do anything if it's terrain. We only need to worry about it if it's the player. So we go if body.name equals player, remember the capital P. We've stopped detecting the player now, remember? So we stopped damaging the player. So we set damaging player to false. Okay, and we're not interested if we've previously detected a block and now we're no longer detecting a block, we don't need to do anything. But if we had the player on one of our pincers and we were damaging it and the player moves away, we need to stop damaging the player. So we set damaging the player to false. The head detector, we don't need to change. Player detector rear, it is unlikely that we will detect any terrain or the player. Well, we could detect the player. So it is unlikely that we'll detect any terrain. But I'm going to put that in there anyway, just in case we do. So I'm just going to copy the whole of that and move it to on player detector rear body entered. Looking good. And then if body exited, again, don't need to worry about the terrain. So we just set damaging player to false. And save. Let's test. So we hit the wall and we changed direction. But look, we didn't change our animation. So we need to adjust that. Let's see if we detect player. Player being damaged. Jump out the way. And we should be stopped being damaged. All right, we just need to change our animation. So, player detector body entered. So, if we're changing direction to 1, that means we're moving right. So we will just go animation.player. Sorry, animation.player.play. Move right. Else, if it's -1, we go animation player dot play. Move left. Later on, when we improve the game, we can write functions to handle animation, or we can even use nodes to do that. But right now, just as we're throwing the game together, we'll do it like this. So back into that one, because there's a lot of repetition, so we could remove some of this repetition by abstracting into a function, or as I say, using a different node. Direction is 1, so we get animation.player move play, animation player.play move right, and if direction is -1, animation player dot play move left. Put a little line in there just to make the code look neater. And that looks okay. Right, let's test again. Move it out the way. Changes direction. That's good. Okay, I'm going to move it nearer to the wall to see if it reacts to the wall by changing direction. So if we go to level template, 2D view, move it right over. Now let's see if it changes direction. Yeah, hits the wall, changes direction. Let's check it does it the other way. Put it there. See if it works. Goes to the left, changes, goes to the right, hits the wall, changes. All right, cool. Let's see if we can interact with it. So I'm going to move over here. See if it damages me. It does. And I'm going to see if I can destroy the player. Yes. Okay. So what we need to work on next is having a little life bar up here to so we can actually damage the player and see the damage that we're doing. And then, of course, enable the player to die when it takes too much damage. So we'll get to work on that in the next section. I hope to see you there.